Since the 2016 nostalgia trend of 2026 has been taking over, I thought I'd look at the F1 version of said 2016. It was the time of Pokemon Go's peak popularity. Britain voted to leave the EU, and Vine was still relevant. But you know what was also still relevant? Mercedes' domination and McLaren Honda's misery in Formula 1. Yes, the absolute peak of McLaren Honda, it seemed. Terrible power delivery, battery recovery, and reliability in the Honda engine. Wonder if we're going to see that repeated in 2026. Daniel Ricciardo failed to win the Monaco Grand Prix after a pit stop botch. He's not going to win the Monaco Grand Prix again this year. Red Bull, for the first time, which would become very regular, had a mid-season driver swap, but perhaps the most important one. The Torpedo was sacked by Red Bull after torpedoing their former world champion and was replaced by Max Verstappen. This was highly criticised and controversial at the time, and then Verstappen won his first race at Red Bull and all the criticism ended. People were saying that 2016 was a simpler time. Not sure, we were all probably addicted to our smartphones then. But it was a simpler time for Formula 1, but not in a good way because Mercedes won 19 of the 21 races that year. It was the most dominant time of their 2010s takeover of the sport. At least we had a championship fight between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, a rivalry that was beyond another level this year as the two crashed into each other on several occasions. Most notably at Spain, which was the said race that Verstappen was able to win. So one of the two races Mercedes were beaten was when they crashed into each other, and the other time was when Hamilton's engine went blue and cost him the world championship. Yes, spoiler, Rosberg won the world championship. Hamilton tried to do what Max probably should have done in Abu Dhabi last year, try and back him up. Rosberg then, a week after winning the title, announced a bombshell retirement from the sport, and so Lewis Hamilton would not be challenged as a teammate until George Russell came along to the team several years later. And so the 2016 season effectively cost us championship fights for the following few seasons. Ferrari lacked the strategy and brains to challenge the Mercs, and Bottas wasn't going to challenge Hamilton. And Felipe Massa announced an emotional retirement at his last race in Abu Dhabi. Except it wasn't his last race because Rosberg retired and Williams decided to take him out of retirement. It was the last race for Manor F1 team. Much missed. They actually scored a point that season. And that was also the only season of Rio Haryanto, Indonesian driver. Haven't heard much of him since. 2016 season was okay, but it was pretty disappointing in terms of competitiveness. And so, along with the nostalgia of Pokemon Go, Vine, and Brexit, the competitiveness of 2016 should also be left in that year. Let's focus on the future, not on the past, when it comes to nostalgia and all that stuff.